What's going on, guys? Getting in the green, NFL Week 10 main slate, and we're going to dive into this thing, man. And we waited later in the week for you guys this week because to the NFL as of recently, we've just been waiting on COVID news, injury news. It's been getting out of control. So it's almost pointless to look at these things early in the week. You're going to have to completely change everything you're doing as it gets closer. So here we are. We're here on a Friday, so hopefully we have a decent amount of news. But honestly, I think we're still waiting on a bunch of big news here that's going to skew your lineups. We're going to do the best we can here. Let's kick it off with quarterbacks. And yeah, let's just start up at the top, Matt. Who in the 7,000s here are you looking at? 7 to 8,000.
Yeah, my number one quarterback is going to be Tom Brady here at 7,600. Love the matchup. I know he's still missing some weapons. Actually, missing a lot of weapons here. Another one we're waiting on. Antonio's out. Gronk's out. Chris Godwin's highly questionable from what I hear. But I still love Tom Brady. And I'm hoping some of those injury news make him less played. Washington surrendered the most fantasy points per game to quarterback. I still love the matchup here. I think Tom's going to feed the ball to whoever they put in at wide receiver. But Tom's probably my favorite on the top. I'm not completely off Josh Allen, even though that guy did burn us hard last week. That's just one of the weirdest games I've ever seen. One of the weirdest upsets I've ever seen in football. But the Jets are a good matchup for him. I think he could bounce back, and I also think he could be sneaky because of so many people got burned, much lower percentage than he would need. And then the last one that I also think is a sneaky game in general. Right now, I just got an update. Aaron Rodgers is playing officially. So I love that game, actually, now that both quarterbacks are officially back in, the Green Bay-Seattle game. I know we'll get to Russell in a second, but both those guys are interesting to me. They both come with their own risks, but another sneaky play. But I will say my number one in the lineup there, I'm going to go with Tom Brady.
Yeah, I like Brady a lot. I'm going to play a bunch of him. I do want to point out Herbert, though. Man, Minnesota, for as much as their defense is like quote unquote improving over the past couple weeks, they get in these absolute shootouts every game. They were in a shootout with Baltimore. You're coming to LA now. Herbert looked good in his last game against Philly. He's at home. His weapons are healthy. Keenan Allen's really kind of just re-evolved into that receiver we all know he is. I like Herbert here, man. I don't think Minnesota slows down the Chargers at all. And I think Minnesota also has enough firepower to keep this thing competitive. So to me, that Charger-Minnesota game is just going to be a nice spot there for a shootout. On the Rodgers-Wilson thing, I probably wouldn't do too much Wilson, man. Just pure rust. I just want to see what he looks like coming back from that surgery. Rodgers, though, I think... I love the Rodgers Devontae Adams stack this week. Seattle secondary is pretty weak. And I think that is a good game. I think there's going to be points scored, definitely. So,
and don't undercount Rodgers' pure spite to the media. When guy feels, when people piss him off, he's got the biggest chip on his shoulder ever. He might come out here and they might be at the 1 yard line. Coach calls a run play, and he's like, "No, I'm getting another touchdown today."
Yeah, I'm audible in this. We're throwing the ball.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, 100%, man. Rodgers is a different beast when he wants to be, so I do like that spot for him at home. We'll drop into the 6,000s here. And the name, I know he burnt everybody last week, and honestly, he didn't burn everybody. He ended up salvaging his day with over 20 fantasy points. But Dak Prescott, to me, at home against Atlanta here.
It's a great game.
I think this guy absolutely does whatever he wants. His timing was definitely off with his receivers last game. Dallas looked like shit overall, but I don't think they, suck all of a sudden. I think they had a bad game. Hopefully people are a little off of him because of it, but for me I'm rolling Dallas out here against Atlanta. They haven't stopped anybody.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dak's my favorite player in this lineup. Obviously, he's on the top end there at 6,900, but I think he's going to be underplayed. I still love the matchup. I think it's a shootout. Wilson, we already touched on. High risk, high reward. I'm not going to play too much of him, but could be an interesting play. And then for me, I'm going to go down. I know I've been riding with him a lot, but I like the game in general. If you need to save the 900, I don't mind Matt Ryan there at 6,000. Very similar. I just think it's going to be a shootout style game. You need to get a cheap quarterback. He's been pretty freaking solid for you there. Coming off a really good game and been generally consistent on the year, and I like that matchup. So my two big ones for there would be Dak and Matt Ryan.
Yeah, and then I'm scrolling down, and I mean, for me, I'm not dropping any lower than those guys. But I don't know if you have a quarterback down here cheap that you're going to be throwing in this week.
Nah, I mean, Simeon is obviously the starter. I don't think it's a good matchup with Tennessee. But I guess if you needed to save money, I could maybe see him getting you 20. He got 16 last game. But now, I mean, even in that scenario, I think I would go to Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz there at 5,900. Very similar to Matt Ryan. I'm not saying I like him better. But either one of those guys, if I need a cheap quarterback, I don't think I'm going lower than the Matt Ryan Carson Wentz.
All right. So that's quarterbacks for you guys. Pretty simple this week. Pretty straightforward. There's going to be some stacks with those guys. So let's hop over to running backs. And we get to welcome back Christian McCaffrey to the top of the running back board. $8,400. Let's just do these $8,000 running backs here first. And for me, man, it's Jonathan Taylor all day up here. I have a hard time paying for him on some lineups, but this guy absolutely shredded Jacksonville last year in Indy. It was the last game of the year. I think he ran for like 250, 3 touchdowns. He owns Jacksonville. Indy's looking pretty good right now. I could see Jonathan Taylor absolutely shredding this team up.
Yeah, I will say I like Jonathan Taylor either way. They've really been – I think he's a great play regardless. If Marlon Mack's a scratch again, then I'm even higher on him, just because him and Hines are different, whereas Mack takes a little bit. The other guy I'll point out here, not that I dislike McCaffrey, I still that whole offense is just in shambles. I know he's going to get a lot of catches. He's safe. I just don't know if I want to pay for that. I actually think even more than Jonathan Taylor, I think Dalvin Cook's my play at 8,000 here. They're getting the ball more and more to him. He hasn't been spectacular since he's been back from injury, but not a bad game last week, 110 yards, rushing, 18.2. The Chargers still have the worst run defense in the league. I think they're going to make a concerted effort to get Dalvin Cook the ball more here, and I think Cook has a huge game against the Chargers. And what we already said, I do believe is going to be a shootout. So Cook's probably my favorite play at the top there.
All right, into the 7,000s, and Najee Harris probably has the best matchup on paper, man, and he is an absolute workhorse for that team. I also think Pittsburgh's just not good enough to blow out Detroit, so this stays competitive. Najee Harris stays in the game for 4 quarters. Yep. I love Najee Harris here at 7,900, man. He's got the passing work, and he's going to get all the goal line work. I mean, there's no negative here for him playing this Detroit defense.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I wish he was slightly cheaper, but yeah, on paper, other than maybe the Chargers defense, Detroit is the worst defense. Pittsburgh's going to have Najee's going to have a great matchup there. He's still going to get his catches. He's a slam dunk play. He's just going to be tough to afford if you want to play one of the 8,000 guys also, but great matchup.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Eckler and Elliott are both solid plays this week as well. I just don't love them as much as those other guys, so I won't be getting too much exposure on those guys, but they're not bad plays by any means this week.
No, then you got Aaron Jones coming in now. We're below 7,000, 6,900 here. Interesting play to me. I know he was terrible for us last week, but Seattle actually does not have a good run D either. Rodgers is back. It really opens up everything for him. Not saying he's a must play, but I don't mind that. That's a good price point for a guy who's really like an RB1 with Rodgers there. 6,900 for Jones is interesting to me.
Yeah, he could definitely have a bounce back there. In the 6,000s, though, I mean, I think, early in the week I was on Connor at 6,300 against Carolina, but with some of these injuries that have popped up, I just don't see myself playing any Connor this week.
Yeah. Another guy.
I was going to say Fournette.
Fournette, yeah, I do like Fournette as well. I was gonna say Cordell Patterson, man. I'm still on this guy every week. I like the matchup. I wish he was a little cheaper, but I mean the guy's just so damn consistent. And I really like the matchup. If I play Matt Ryan, I'll play Cordell Patterson in that stack. And it's funny that it's like I'm playing a running back in a quarterback stack because he's like their main receiver also. So that'll be a stack that I do with Ryan.
All right, we're going to scroll down here a little bit and let me kind of find where some of these guys are. Yeah, it's crazy. Like after that grouping, man, I'm coming like way down. And I'll be way down at like Dearness Johnson now that we know that Chubb's out for the game. $4,700 Dearness Johnson's probably a must play for me at that price point to just kind of build some value. So
I'm with you. He's 100% a must play for me. He will be on every one of my lineups. The guys just looked amazing. We already know what Cleveland wants to do. They're a run heavy team. And really, I'm not saying that he's as good as Chubb because Chubb is one of the best backs, but from a Cleveland offense standpoint, they didn't take a step back at all with this guy. He's going to get fed. He looks great. Getting a guy like that at 4,700 is a must play. And I mean, this guy's percentage of play is going to be well over 65%. So he will burn you if you don't play him, and he has a good game.
yeah, I agree. And then I know we talked about Bolden if Harris and Stevenson are both ruled out. Brandon Bolden becomes an interesting play in that same game.
Yeah.
$4,400. So, but you're waiting on concussion news. This guys might clear protocol. We got to wait and see. We'll probably know tomorrow, morning, first thing.
Yep.
Any other running backs you were looking at playing this week?
It was Hines at 5,000 was at least interesting to me again. I would need to hear that Marlon Mack news, but I think the guy's getting more involved in the offense. Not a must play, especially when you got like the Dearness Johnson right there, but an interesting play at least. And then the other guy, in addition to Bolden, I don't even know where he's at, was the other running back for the Patriots, J.J. Taylor. I've heard some stuff that he might still be getting the majority of carries and Bolden would still be the passing guy. So maybe worth a look if both those guys were out. But again, you're reaching at that point. No, I don't like either of those guys more when you got a for sure thing here with Johnson.
All right. Let's hop over to wide receivers, man. And pretty interesting week, honestly. So let's look at the 7,000s first. And I mean, the name that sticks out to me is on top. Davante Adams at 7,900. The guy's just come down in price. And I think it was, he had the game with Jordan Love. He was out for a game. They had a bye week. But I mean, this guy was in the high 8,000s there for a while. And we've got him all the way down to 7,900. I think it's just a good value for the guy. And I like that Seattle Green Bay game. He's got Rodgers back. Yeah, I mean, I can't afford him on every lineup, but I do like Davante Adams here up at the top.
Yeah, the top dog that's actually probably the only guy I like. Not that I'm saying these guys aren't going to have good games, but I pay Adams at 7,900. Obviously, that's still expensive mess of the lineup, but I'm definitely not paying up for AJ Brown, Jefferson, McLaren, Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, or even Godwin if he plays. I'm not paying 7,100, knowing that he's banged up there. So. Yeah, that's kind of that top tier. I'm just going Adams.
Yeah,
as we go
if Godwin plays, I'd probably give him a look, especially on those Brady stacks. But he's expensive, man. He's more expensive than Mike Evans this week, which is crazy.
And that's my thing. So the next tier is where I'm living, and I'll start off right off the bat. Mike Evans is my number one play of the week here. At 6,900. I've already talked about Brady being my guy. I already thought Evans was going to have a really good game. Even if Godwin was completely healthy, this would be one of those games where I played both of them. I think Evans is going to have a field day here and is like just a must play for me. The other two guys in this pool that are like must plays and are going to be in a lot of my lineups as well is the Keenan Allen at 7,000. We already talked about how we like that matchup. Keenan's back to full-on number one status. I know he's a little banged up and hasn't been practicing, but I think he's still good to go. And then finally, I like a little bit more risky, but I like DK Metcalf with Russell Wilson back. I think he could be in for a really big game.
Yeah, I haven't paid up yet for DK this week. But yeah, good play there. I think even Deontay Johnson here, man, at 6,800 is just a great spot, man. You're playing Detroit. Like I said, I don't think they're good enough to blow out Detroit. This guy just gets an insane amount of targets. Um, so I do like Deontay Johnson, but for me, it's Mike Evans. I like Keenan Allen a lot. And then if you scroll down, that like 6,200 Cooper. I
Great
know
deal.
he had that bad week. I really think their timing's going to come back. I like Cooper against Atlanta, so that's where I'm at in those 6,000s. But we do need to find some value here at receiver to kind of make these lineups work. So, what do you like down in the 5,000s?
Two guys stand out to me. They're very similarly priced, right in the 5,000s. I think we're going to ride the Cole Beasley train at 5,200. The guy's just getting so many catches, even in that ridiculously terrible game that we just saw. Still got 8 catches. He only got 33 yards, but 11.3 in a game like that at his price, that's not bad. I think he's still going to improve. I know Dawson Knox might be back, so there's maybe a little bit of more concern there. But at that value point and what he's been performing, I still like him. The other guy I like and the way that they're trying to get him the ball, definitely a little more risk involved because he's not fully back into the offense. But I like Jerry Jeudy a lot at his price point there, right at 5,300. He's already putting up some pretty good games. Like, he had 13 last game, 12.9. And he's just getting back into the groove of things. He's just getting his feet wet again. So he's live for a really big game, but I also don't think he hurts you if he doesn't explode.
Yeah, I like Judy. Cole Beasley does scare me a little bit with Dawson Knox back in the fold there, because he did have he had great games with Knox alongside of him, and then he had games where he just was not involved in the offense at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, Buffalo's got to right the ship here. They got to score a bunch of points against the Jets. So Beasley's not a bad play. Judy, I do like, especially against Philly, man. Philly's not stopping anybody. And if you don't want to play Judy, I mean, Sutton's not that much more expensive.
Yeah.
It just depends who you think is going to be the best one. I lean Judy with you. But I'm not loving this $5,000 range, man. There's just not somebody that like stands out to me as like this must play value. So I'm going to probably be avoiding the 5,000s for the most part, but I do like that. If I went there, it would probably be Judy. And then do we have news on AJ Green? Is he going to be good to go this week?
Yeah, I believe he is playing.
What about Hopkins?
He's still questionable. Game time.
Game time call. All right, because I mean, you got to figure one of these Arizona, if Murray plays, he's also a game time call. So
yeah, so there's a lot of question marks there.
Yeah, so yeah, if just for you guys, if Murray plays and some of these receivers are out, Kirk, AJ Green could definitely get a look this week. But we'll find that out Sunday morning. All right, the
Another guy,
huh?
Yeah, what do you got in the 4,000s?
I was going to point out, the AJ Green at 4,600. So we're going to wait on some news, but I think that's even if one of those guys plays, like I don't mind AJ Green here.
Yeah.
He has to have Murray though. I'm not playing anybody with Colt McCoy, but if Murray goes, I do think AJ Green is in a good spot there.
Yeah, I like Green. Another guy I'm going to point out, 4,400 is Allen Lazard for Green Bay. Rodgers back. I already said how much I like this game. I don't think he's like a stud, but it's like he's the clear number 2 to Davante Adams. If I'm doing a Rodgers stack, I think that's going to be a high-scoring game. I think you have really good value there for him. If the guy gets in the end zone with Rodgers, like he's in a 17, 18-point scorer. If he doesn't, he's usually still in that like 10 range. So I like his upside there at 4,400. I like the game. I like that the offense is kind of back there. Don't hate the play.
Yeah, yeah, and I know we got MVS back, but yeah, Lazard is definitely wide receiver 2 over him. So yeah, Lazard's a sneaky play, definitely a tournament play. Man, I'm looking down here, man. It's probably AJ Green for me in the 4,000s. I don't trust T.Y. Hilton to play the whole game.
I do have one little deeper one, but it has to be. There's got to be some injuries finalized, but I'll still go back to the games we like. But Ty Johnson is at 3,300. If Godwin's out, and obviously we already know Antonio's out, he's already been playing more snaps. Last game, he went 5 for 65 when there was some receiver injuries. He had 11.5 points. If Godwin's out as well, I could see him get even more targets. He really would be the number 2 receiver on that team
Yeah.
if everyone's out except for Evans. And that's a good spot to be in a game like that. So 3,300, Ty Johnson, I like that play a lot, actually, if Godwin's out.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah, if we get Godwin out, and he's probably a sneaky play if Godwin plays even. But no, if Godwin's out 3,300, he'd probably be in most of my lineups there.
Yep. That's about
But
it.
yeah, so with that being said, let's move over to tight end. And not much, man, at the top this week that really catches my eye.
No.
I don't trust any of those guys. I mean, for me, I was just value hunting from the jump at tight end, just because of how the lineups have been built so far. So for me, I would say my go-to has just been Dan Arnold at 3,500.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm
then
with.
I don't mind Ricky Seals-Jones kind of running it back against Tampa there at 3,700. I think Logan Thomas is not going to play this week. The coach said he's not ready for football yet. So,
Yeah, and then down there also was what's his name? The Pittsburgh guy, Fairmouth. Uh,
yeah,
he's,
3,900.
he's looked good. Obviously, like his score is a little inflated because of the touchdowns. He had 2 touchdowns last game, one the game before, but he's getting legit looks and targets here as well. We know Ben's liked his tight ends in the past. I like him there as well. I do like Arnold probably a little bit more, but I'll be playing both of them quite a bit at that spot. And really, I don't necessarily like anybody above him enough to make the jump.
No.
Um, Maybe Goddard at 4,700 on some lineups, but in general, I'm going to stick with those 2 cheap guys. That's all I'm going to be playing.
Yeah, and then I'd point out, like, I don't even, if you need to save even a little more money, I don't hate Jared Cook, man.
Yeah, yeah,
He gets
he's
4,
solid.
5, 7. I mean, his targets are there. He is a touchdown threat. He's not going to score crazy for you, but at 3,200, if you need to save a couple extra $100 there, that's probably who I'd go down to.
Yep.
All right, defenses. And again, I'll just point out there is some decent defenses here at the top. Especially, I think Buffalo stands out to me the most.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sadly, I was value hunting again with defenses because of my lineup. So I'm all the way down at where is my at the Titans defense, $2,600 against Trevor Siemian. And the Titans defense has scored, man, 3 out of the last 4 weeks in double digits. That's just kind of where
Yeah.
I ended up. So,
No, I'm with you 100%. Where I'm playing the top, and my favorite on the top is the Bills. I don't hate the Steelers there. I don't hate the Cardinals or Colts or even Tampa, but I mean, the Bills are my number 1 defense on the week. So I'm taking the Bills first and foremost if I can afford them. If I need to go cheap, I'm going the Titans. I think they have the most upside. They're playing Simeon. They're getting turnovers. I'm with you there. Tennessee 2,600 is a great, great deal. The other one I will point out, a lot more risk, but I just think they're kind of in recent weeks have come back to form a little bit. Is going to be the Broncos D against Philly. They're a little more expensive than Tennessee, but they've looked good. They obviously started the year as one of the top defenses. They kind of fell off as frauds when they started playing better teams. in recent weeks, their defense has looked good again, and they're at 3,200. Philadelphia's offense has not impressed me. Hurts kind of is all over the place, even though they did score on the Chargers. Not the worst play there. I'm not saying it's a must play. It's at least an interesting, differentiated look there for the Broncos.
Yeah, and I was real quick. I just completely forgot about this. With the Alvin Kamara news, you got Mark Ingram at $4,500. Decent look.
Yeah.
The guy's going to be a starting running back there. If you think that offense can move the ball at all against Tennessee, Mark Ingram is going to be the focal point of that.
Hey, you're right. I don't know how we missed that one. I don't think he's as much of a must play as Johnson, but he will be in a lot of my lineups. I think Ingram's still got a lot going on there. He's already getting a lot of catches with Kamara in the game. I think he gets a lot of drop offs. He's a great play.
Yep. And so if you and then on defenses, Arizona playing against PJ Walker for Carolina, I believe. Not a bad spot either. But again, I'm not paying up too often there for defenses. So, but yeah, just wanted to go back. Mark Ingram is definitely in play at $4,500. All right, guys, look, hit that like, hit the subscribe. Let's get some money this week.